My name is Bill Kessler with Bywater Solutions. I appreciate everybody joining us today. For today's meeting, we're going to go over Jira and how in the community we can contribute. We're joined here by folks from Bywater. I see some other support organizations here too. Feel free to ask questions in the chat. We'll also be putting links in the chat to different resources and everything there. So we've got several different folks who can be going through and doing little bits and pieces parts of this. So as they join and they mention something, they'll introduce themselves. So what we want to do today, we're going to cover the basics of Jira, including searching, watching, and commenting. For those of you that are like me, that are just folks that like to go in and see what's going on, this is going to be very helpful, just to be able to kind of see what's going on. If you want to contribute, we're also going to be explaining how you'll be able to contribute and do some guidelines too on, what type of information to put in, what to double check with your support organization too, to make sure we're not double entering things too. So first off, we're going to talk about the community tool process and selection. So over the last several months, the community got together. And it was a great team that got together that went in and looked at different types of tools where organizations and individuals could contribute to the community. Several different ones were looked at. It was voted on by the group pretty overwhelmingly for Jira. It seems very useful for a lot of folks. So it's now been adopted. So they were tasked with writing the requirements for selecting a community collaboration tool. It'll be used to organize and coordinate development between developers and all the Aspen community shareholders. So we're sharing a few of the document collaborating tools overview on the screen here so folks can see how we got to where we are. So draft tool requirements were set up. And you can see there were several different ones. So we had Jira, GitHub. There was one more, Launchpad. So there was several different contributors in the community offered their expertise, and the community did come together on Jira. The evaluation for the tools were also specified so that folks could contribute. They could go in and ask questions. And those folks that use it all the time really dug in and asked some really good questions. So I think we came up with a nice compromise on exactly what should be added here. So the group's still meeting, and we encourage folks to join that to participate. They're going to meet bi-weekly on Mondays at 11 Eastern. And the group continues to solidify statuses, drop downs, and create consistent vocabulary for users to make it easy and understandable for all levels of users. They also continue to look over issues as they come to make sure they are labeled with the correct statuses for consistency. And I know Jesse's voice isn't doing well. Is there anything I missed on that part, Jesse?
I think you're doing great, Bill. This is just a great opportunity for the working group to still continue to, help kind of guide as Jira blossoms. It's only been active for a couple weeks, so there's a lot of things that are still in progress. So just keep that in the back of your mind today as we go through everything. This is really just an introduction to make everyone feel comfortable, and kind of searching. And our plan is to have more of these for the community. So we'll continue to have these little sessions where we go in deeper, but today we're excited to get into the basics.
Thanks, Jesse. And so next we're going to give over to Elise. She's going to talk about what resources are available that we provided so far.
All right, thanks, Bill and Jesse. So yeah, we recently published some resources that are very helpful. Jesse and Kate and Bill and Lauren contributed to these as well. These are some Aspen weeklies. We did a Jira Basics Part 1 and 2. It's being screen shared, and I'm also going to share the link in chat. These are just a really helpful kind of quick guide to dive in a little bit. And then also there are some short self-paced classes available at university@atlassian.com. I'm going to share the link to that as well. These are just, real helpful self-paced little courses that can kind of get you familiarized with some of the layout and things like that, the system, all that good stuff. So we really hope you use some of these resources. It'll be helpful on your journey. I know I'm glad we're all in this together because it's kind of overwhelming, like one more platform to learn, but we're all in this together. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jessie.
Okay, y'all, thanks so much. Stay with me. Sorry, my voice is a little cracky this morning. I promise I'll be slow as I walk through and talk about all the cool things with Jira. So I've been seeing lots of users create an account in Jira. So if you are interested in checking Jira out, the first thing you should know is you don't need an account. You can actually come in to aspendiscovery.atlassian.net, and that allows you to search and view issues. So you do not have to be logged in to view that. That'll give you access where you can basically just see issues within the system. Now, I am logged in. Creating an account is free, and we'll share those links in here if you haven't created an account yet. This will allow you to create an account, which gives you the opportunity to log in and view issues, make comments, add yourself as a watcher so you can see how things are happening within the system. So again, we encourage everybody, if you want, you can create an account. It's free, and what we'll be showing you here today allows you to get right in there and see that information within the system. So I'm going to copy and paste those two links just so everyone can be following along. Now, once you have your account set up, what's next? We're going to walk you through the basics of searching. So when you come into the first interface, you will be presented with what we refer to as a command board. And Andrew's going to talk about a little more details about this later, but we're going to start off by just talking about the basics. Once I hit that search bar in the upper right-hand corner, that will take me in where I can see anything that I recently viewed or searched for within the system. Now, personally, I really like this because if you are a user for other open source communities, you know you're probably tracking something you're passionate about or something that you're excited to see that's coming into the platform. So this is great because you can jump right in to something within the system that you were previously looking at. At the top, I can also just start to type in, and for those of us that are used to Aspen, where it gives us the predictive text, it's doing the same type of activity for us. So here I'm starting to type in Android, and you'll notice as I start to type, it's showing me those issues down below. As I hover over each one of those, it will also give us a description, a short description. So the first thing you'll see is DIS-68. That is the unique identifier to identify that particular issue within the system. What's nice about that is you can search by that and it just identifies what it is. So in this case, we're going to look at the scan and go not working on an Android device. Again, I can see that quick information. I can also copy the link. Why is this helpful? Because if you have a colleague who's also interested in seeing this issue or learning more about this issue, you can just copy that link, share it with them in an email or Slack or whatever communication that you're using for your library or organization, and that will take you in. Now, if I click on that, this will take me directly in where I can see a little more information about this particular issue. Here it'll give me a quick description. Now, some you'll see are shorter or longer in description than others. Some will be very straight to the point. In this one, we can see the scan and go feature is not working on Android devices. You can see that they've mentioned that on Android 12 and 14 on both the community and the branded Lita. Now, as we scroll down, you'll be able to see testing notes. Once there is a patch or code that's been applied, you'll be able to see any type of notes for testing. But what's most important for you to look at is down in activity. This is where you'll be able to see a conversation back and forth between users and or developers. So we can see here that Martin from PTFS Europe made a comment that said Jacob, who's on their team, is going to take a look at that one and dive into Lita and also work with Alexander. And then Mark made a comment that said, should this be in progress or down the road? So this is a way for individuals to comment back and forth. As users of Aspen Discovery, this is where you should feel empowered to come in and also make comments. So if you've experienced this on Android, if you're an Android user and you've experienced this, this would be a place for you to come in and comment. The more conversation that is had within the community, the better feedback that developers and contributors have to know how things are working. And I'm going to pause for a second and let, I know there's many developers and commenters here that are active in multiple open source communities. And I just want to hit this one home about commenting and having that discussion going.
I'm 100% behind you there. The more sort of conversation and activity on a ticket, the more kind of voices heard, the more it will be seen and acted on. So, and it's really helpful to just get not just, yes, this affects me too, but any additional details you can give to help the developers along their way on how to reproduce a bug or how you feel a feature should look, the better in terms of helping refine and do things.
Thank you, y'all. That was Martin from PTFS Europe, who is active in multiple open source communities. So just driving home, making sure that you add information in here so all users can see what's happening with a particular issue. Now, on the right-hand side, you'll see some details. This will outline either who's working on it or what work has been done. So you can see over here on the right-hand side, the assignee is Jacob. So he's been assigned to look at this. And then as we scroll down, you'll see a little more information. Now, if this is not currently active, some of these might not be filled in yet. So QA or quality assurance would be the testing of something once it's been worked on. If it's applied to a team, this is where we would see who's working on it. So in this case, we would know it would be PTFS Europe. As we scroll down a little bit further, we can see the component. This will tell us the part in Aspen that it is being worked on. Now, I will say this is a work in progress. The working group that Bill mentioned earlier is still meeting to go through some of these, and we're talking every week as we see people submit issues in there to make sure that these are identified in the right values and the vocabulary is consistent. So again, if you see something where you have a suggestion, you can always come to those meetings or share that information. There is a Slack communication channel for the tools work group. So if you do see something, you can jump right on Slack and also communicate with us there. Some other things that you'll see over here on the right-hand side under details that would be helpful for you is the reporter. So that will tell you the individual of who reported this. If they have an account set up, you'll be able to see their profile. You can see other ones that they've submitted within the system, and that will allow you to jump in as well. Now, we're going to show a couple different examples because we want to show the power of just being able to provide more information for examples within the system. So this time I am going to search by a particular issue. And you'll notice this time I typed in DIS 63. So multiple ways that you can search within the system. So if I bring this one up, this one is remove old unused SSO fields from a library table. It gives us a quick description. And as we're looking at it, again, we can just see information about this particular issue within the system, and it gives us a breakdown of who's working on it. So we can see Mark's working on it, and this is part of code maintenance. So again, just some different examples where you can see the information, what's going on, who's working on it, and pulling that up within a system. Our next example we're going to show here is DIS 123. And again, I'm just going to type that in as an issue and jump into that. We wanted to show this one because this one will link out to the actual GitHub site. So we use GitHub as a way to keep all of the code for Aspen Discovery. That's how it's pushed out to all of the users or the support organizations who are supporting your system within there. So we can see for this one, freeze holds with no date can cause a blank error. And this just shows a little more information. So we can see Alexander, who's at PTFS Europe, made a comment. And then over here on the right-hand side, we can see a little more information about this particular bug. So these issues are now visible for all users to see, and you can search for them directly within the system. I'm going to do a couple more searches because this is what we really want you to feel comfortable with. If you experience something or you've worked with a support organization to say, you know, we've seen an error or this just isn't happening, this allows you to come in and quickly view that information. So this time I'm going to search for group or grouped works. And you'll notice as I start typing that in, it starts giving me suggestions within the system. And we'll come over here. And this brings me in where then I can go in and look for more information. So in this case, we're going to go documentation needed for manually grouping authorities. This tells us exactly where that guides us to, and just saying that there needs to be some more documentation because it's not really clear how it works. And then you can see down below that there's comments back and forth from Morgan and Esther, just kind of talking about documentation and how it can be a little bit clearer for users. This is a good sidebar to say that Atlassian does also include a wiki, which is called Confluence, which allows you to do some documentation, which we'll cover in a later webinar. But for those of you who are familiar with the Help Center, there's also the Help Center that has documentation there as well. So again, just some basic searches that allow us to see this information and search within the system. Now, if there is something that you are interested in and you want to know anytime there is an update or activity within that particular issue, there's a couple things that you can do. The first was, you notice that there's a little link next to that DIS. That link takes you to the direct URL for that particular numbered discovery issue. So you'll notice I just pasted over there and it takes me right in. So whether you're sharing that with a colleague or another member of your organization, that'll quickly take you back into that particular issue. I want to draw your attention over to the right-hand side. This is where you can see options to watch a particular issue. It looks like a little eye, and when you click on that, it's going to give you the option to start watching. This will provide alerts for you where you will get updates if there's any type of activity on this particular issue within the system. So this is a great way for you to follow things. For those of you who are maybe familiar with Bugzilla, for Koha, I saw somebody mention in here about Koha and being a user with Bugzilla. This is a way very similar to that you can follow an activity on this particular issue. So anytime there's an update, you'll be able to see that information. Okay, now that we've covered the basics of searching and looking at a particular issue within the system, making comments to add any feedback that you may have, I'm going to pause for a second and I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Andrew, and he's going to talk a little bit about organization within Jira and how you can see overall who's working on things within the community.
Thanks, Jesse. All right, so I want to talk about a feature that I'm going to ask Jesse to say the name of again.
Oh, I keep pronouncing it Kanban, but I might be wrong.
See, I thought you said it slightly different. Kanban, as it comes out of my mouth, sounds just astonishingly Midwestern, and it feels like I must be getting those vowels a little bit wrong. Kanban. Anyway, here are our Kanban boards. Kanban? I don't know. This is a project management view that we've been looking at issues kind of in, this list. That is a good way to come in here and find a specific thing that's going on in Aspen, which is a lot of like how I'm interacting with Aspen and probably a lot of how y'all are interacting with well, I should say with the Jira part of Aspen, with the documentation of Aspen. You have a specific question, you're looking to see who's working on it, where's it at. But if I go back to the project here, the Kanban board gives us a way to get sort of a top level view of what's going on in the project. So this is like we had a great big board on the wall with a little post-it note for every single issue, and we're using it to track their progress through the whole system. So it's a left to right movement. As issues get assigned to users and start work, they'll show up here first in the in planning column, and as they make their way along through the process, they'll chunk along through the columns from in planning to in progress and so on. By default, when you land here, this is grouping by queries. That's a bit of verbiage that I'm just now realizing I didn't really look into deeply, but we can see that that's grouping us up by team, really, by what group of users are working on each issue here. Gets a little big. But yeah, it's a good way to sort of scan through and see what are people currently picking up, looking at, thinking about. So less when you have when is this one thing going to get fixed, but like, yeah, where's Aspen going? What are the sorts of things people are paying attention to? Where are the places where if we've got something in planning or in progress, where maybe you want to get in and like talk to people about how that process is going? We do have a few other grouping options here that aren't super useful for the way we have Jira organized. This is big philosophical organization of information things. Like doing this by story or project doesn't really get us anything particularly useful. Mostly we've got one card per story. So you're probably going to leave this set to queries. What else do I want to say about this? I don't know. It's a nice like visual metaphor. It's a way to see sort of how everything is progressing. I need to spend a little more time digging into exactly the logic of what makes things move here. Like I know we've got a couple other things that probably need to get poked in some way to chug along here within the Bywater Solutions stream. But yeah, that's something for me to look into and figure out how the automations in the background of this all.
I like visually that you can see kind of what's in planning, what's in progress as it kind of moves through. I'm a visual person though, so like I appreciate that you can start here and kind of see where things are and where they're moving to, rather than just having a list. So everyone's process of learning is different or viewing things, and I appreciate this as a visual learner.
Yeah, it's a nice option to see the forest instead of all the individual trees, which like comparing that to Bugzilla over in Koha, it can be hard in Bugzilla to see sort of where's everything going in a grander sense. So I like this for that. And those are my deep Kanban thoughts. Yes, as Jordan says in the chat, columns determined by status, rows determined by team.
And did a quick look up. It's Kanban.
Oh, thank you. Kanban.
At the end, we'll
That does
all go
sound
through and
nicer.
say ours. Next up, Esther is going to kind of walk through and file an issue for us.
Yeah, I filed bugs and issues on lots of projects, and the process is very similar with Jira. So I'll just share my screen. The The first step when I go to file a bug is first to search to make sure I'm not submitting a duplicate bug. And it does happen from time to time. And so, depending on your search terms or whatever, it may not surface something that's similar that's already been submitted. And the Aspen maintainers or whoever maintains Jira they'll go through periodically probably and merge issues together. But I have an issue that I wanted to file about the WebP file format. And so that's the first thing I'm going to search for, and I don't see it. And this came up because I was looking at trying to upload a book cover image that was in the WebP file format. And I didn't notice that I had that file format instead of something else. And so that issue is not coming up when I do a search. And so I need to submit it. And you can see here, I used the search box up here in the upper right corner, but there's also a search issues button or box here where you could also search. And I'm searching all of the issues. And if I click on issues, you can actually come in and find issues that you've submitted previously. On the left panel here, there's different ways of looking at issues. But to submit something, you're actually going to come and hit the create button up here in the center of the screen. So I'm going to do that. And I tend to just leave this at a bug and let these developers or whoever are working behind the scenes in Jira decide the actual issue type, unless I know for sure it's going to be one of these other things. And the maintainers will probably come out with more specific guidance of how they want things submitted. But for right now, this is what I do. And then you want to put in a descriptive title. So I'm just saying add support for WebP image file format. And then, and I've already typed this up ahead of time. It sometimes helps to put steps so that the developers know how to replicate the issue that you're experiencing, or as much description as you can so they understand, because we're communicating by words here on a screen. And so I put in what I experienced when uploading my book cover image. And I did note that the box for the upload new cover does say only JPEG, GIF, and PNG files. But it would be nice if WebP was also added. And then I said, if support is not added for that format, then an error message should indicate the file format is not supported. So the user knows to find a different image file type. Because I tried to upload it and it just hung, nothing happened, and something should happen so that the user knows that file format's not supported. Anyway, hopefully the developers see that, yes, we should add that file format support. As you scroll down, you can select your priority. You can select the labels that should go with it. You can enter something in. And you can also select the Aspen component. And so this was related to cover images specifically, but that file format could be used in uploading header images or something else and themes. And so hopefully that will get added over time. But anyway, you can scroll down here and you can select whatever the components are. That's usually about as much as I do. As more guidance comes out, you can add screenshots, which can be really helpful. I don't have a screenshot for this particular issue right now. Hopefully the steps to replicate are straightforward enough. And then you just hit the create button. And it says down here in the lower left corner that you've created an issue. You can copy the link. You can click on that to actually view the issue. So here's my bug, and then it's now in the process for future development. And we'll just watch it and see what happens to it. If you ever want to find all of the issues that you have submitted, you can come into issues and reported by me. And these are the issues that I've submitted. And you can also look at the other statuses related to that. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. don't be afraid to get in there and submit any type of issue that you experience with Aspen, because that's the only way Aspen will continue to get better. So anyway, I'll hand it back over to Bill or Jesse.
Thanks, Esther. That was great. Having never done one of those, that was very helpful to be able to kind of walk through those steps and actually cutting and pasting what you wanted to say in there. I think it's a very good tip. So thank you. Jessie, I think she's going to do some wrap up.
Yeah, so there's a couple comments that came through. Again, I just want to say the task force or the work group or the tool selection committee that selected Jira is still working on kind of finalizing a lot of the things that you'll see in drop down. So the question was, is the priority field for the developer community or the person filing the issue? That's something that we haven't decided on yet, because lots of people have different feelings about how priority should be used. Like, is this critical to get into the next release, or is it a priority for one support organization, but maybe not another? So these are things that'll probably change as time goes, which is why we wanted to start here today with the basics of Jira. So you can feel comfortable going into the platform and searching and commenting and just getting familiar with it. Our plan as part of our, give back to the community is to continue to hold these webinar sessions. So as the selection committee, continues to update the platform, we can continue to show off how things are working. One of the things in our upcoming webinars that we will talk about is Confluence, which is the platform that Atlassian, or Jira, which is how we track the issues, allows us to track documentation. So you'll see in there ways for you to view things like year in review or things that have happened within the platform itself. So I'm just going to share my screen quick so you can see what that looks like. And this just gives you a quick view into this. And so our plan is that down the road, we'll do a whole session that kind of goes over what the Aspen Wiki is, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But this will show you just a little more information. This was one of the most recent enhancements in Aspen that came in the December release, which was the year in review. And this goes over just a little more information about that development. So Jira is opening up all the new doors for us to track issues, provide comments and feedback from community users, and be able to track that type of information. So we are just so thankful that y'all joined us today to be part of this so you can get more comfortable. Just a quick show of hands or comments. How many people have already set up an account in Jira? Yay. And how many people feel confident to go and file or comment on their first issue? Yes. Oh, look at those thumbs up and hand claps. I love it.
And Jesse, we do have a question.
Oh, go.
So what, I'm going to rephrase it a little bit, but
okay.
When you want to enter an issue, what should be the process? Should we still submit a support ticket and someone will help us determine whether it should be entered as an issue, or what's the recommendation here?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you have talked to your support organization first and they said, this is definitely an issue, this is a bug or something that's happening within Aspen Discovery, you can work with them and say, hey, I feel comfortable, I'm going to go file this issue in the community, and you can go in and do that. So I would definitely start, if you're working with a support organization, to talk to them first. And then, of course, as Esther mentioned, always search first within the platform, because you never know if somebody else submitted it. It could be worded just a little bit differently because their brain might be processing another, formulation of how it happened. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to go submit something in other platforms and I'm like, oh, it's already in there. It already exists. So I would definitely say first talk to your support organization and see if they've also identified it. And then if you feel good, you can go in and submit that in Jira. And also remember to go look in there first.
I'd also recommend that if your support organization does file it, you ask them to send you the link so that you can follow it. So you can keep you get updates as people are commenting and adding to. So we have another question. Someone that already has an account with Elysian Jira, how do they get one access to Aspen's?
I am putting the link right now in the chat box. This has been in the gatherings. We've shared this link, and in both of the Aspen weeklies and in Slack and in the community. That link will be active for 30 days and then it'll expire, and either Jordan or myself or another administrator can reactivate it after the 30 days, but that will give you access where you can join the Aspen Discovery Community. Another question that came in that said, after logging in, it says my account doesn't have access. Anyone who's an administrator in Jira, and there are several people who are administrators in Jira, basically anyone who was on that tool selection committee had the opportunity to become an administrator. So there's multiple people. They will approve the accounts as they come in. So Jordan or myself or Kyle, or there's many of us on here, we can double check for you, Kyle, to see if yours came in and just didn't get approved yet. Absolutely.
Great conversation. So I'm going to pause here, see if anyone has any other comments or suggestions, or folks been using it. Any other suggestions for the group?
I want to climb up on a soapbox a little bit about Emily's question about filing issues. I just want to underline that, like, Jira doesn't belong to any support organization. It belongs to y'all. You don't need anybody's permission to file an issue. Talking to a support vendor before you file it might be helpful to you in figuring out, does this issue already exist? Has somebody already done this work? Can I spare myself some headache? But like, if you see an issue and you're confident in it, go file it. The very worst thing that happens is somebody comes along and says, oh, actually, that's like already fixed, and we close your issue for you. And that's fine. Please do, like, y'all own Jira. Put issues in it when you see issues. Ask for help if you want help.
Beautifully said, Andrew. And this is exactly why we have this webinar. We want you to feel empowered to be able to go in there and search and enter and comment. That is what builds community, y'all, is being able to get in there and communicate and talk with one another and really watch this incredible product grow. Oof, how about warm fuzzies to end the webinar?
Excellent. It looks like Kyle Davis was able to get in too. So
wonderful. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for joining us today. If you have questions or anything that can help down the road, please let us know. Yes, this webinar is being recorded. We will upload it to the YouTube channel, share it with the community and our partners. And keep an eye out. We'll do another one of these down the road where we do like a more advanced Jira. You know, today was to focus on the basics, get you in there feeling comfortable. We'll do an advanced one down the road. And if you have suggestions, as always, please let us know. And we look forward to seeing you out there. Thanks, everyone.